Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Who What Now Gaming Podcast. The podcast for consumers by consumers, where we ask the questions: who are you, what got you into gaming, and what type of gamer are you now? I am your humble host, Josh Stewart. And today we are doing things a little different, a little off the rails, if I might add. Slightly different than usual. As you can see, we do not have somebody sitting in the room with me today, nor do we have anyone calling in. In fact, I decided that today we're going to kind of come out with it. So, as the title says, thank you to everyone who has been there to support me, to help me through this entire project. Through everything, through the thick, the thin, the awesome, the bad, the complicated, the super, super amazing. And finally, goodbye. But we'll get into that later. Towards the end of the episode, we will approach the goodbye aspect of this episode and for the podcast altogether. But don't worry. We're going to hold hands and we're going to walk right on through, because that's what we do here at the Who What Now Gaming Podcast. We take things and we make them better. Sometimes we say goodbye to things, and that is okay. But let's get into it. So this episode, I decided that I was going to do something a little different, something a little out of my norm. And I hope that that it's still super enjoyable. And if this is an episode that ends up getting skipped, well, whatever. All right. But from the bottom of my heart, absolutely, thank you to everyone. Thank you so much for everything that everyone has done for me and for the podcast, to the guests, to the viewers, to the people who watch on YouTube, to the listeners, to those who show up in chat in our Twitch streams. This is something that I was probably going to wait to do much later, but sometimes you get the feeling, and the feeling was right. And so that's what we decided to do. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. For starters, I wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who has been here from the ground up, from before any of this even went live. And I also want to say a big thank you to Noah. Noah Chapman. Thank you so much for hanging out and being there from the absolute beginning, going to the conventions and doing the amazing journeys, road trips, D&D games. The amount of test runs that we did for this show is insane. But in fact, today we're going to be very open and transparent, because that is something that I find extremely genuine. So in the very beginning, I have always wanted to produce content, but I've never wanted to do it solely for myself. And so I had an idea, a vision of the future, and I got this idea where, what if the content creators that we get to watch and view and enjoy and really soak in every single time we turn on social media, or YouTube or Twitch or Mixer, or whichever, right? Excuse me. And we get together, still gross as ever. We get together and we discuss the people behind the content. And I started to notice that through all of this, the one person who has not been, I guess, discussed is me, which sounds super egotistical, which is entirely why I don't do it. But that being said, I think when Noah and myself um, went to PAX Unplugged in November, was it no December of 2023. Ugh. Um, I got to see an amazing panel with the Dungeon Dudes and Jenny, and together they decided to have an incredible topic that I didn't really think was going to fully speak to me in the way that it did. And the discussion was creating content and listening to their views on burnouts and whoa, camera. For those listening, my camera hates me consistently. But their conversations were about, you know, dealing with burnout and coming up with ideas and content creations. And as we all know, you see a video, you enjoy it for about a week or so, but then it disappears, and that's okay, because we are in a world that is consistently moving forward. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to create something that I could constantly push forward, push my own limits, and do such a thing. But I had something called imposter syndrome, which is basically that I wanted to make content, but there was no way in my brain that was convincing me that people would want to listen to any of the stuff, which happens a lot. Apparently, it happens to everybody, and that kind of made me feel a lot better. But when I was sitting in that room, and they spoke about creating content that you wanted to hear, and the viewers will then find you. Of course, you still have to do your social medias and you're throwing your stuff out there, but when it really comes down to it, make content that you are struggling to find. And and I thought, you know what, that is 100% what I want to do. But the other the trigger that really set all of this in motion was that they said that you'll never be able to, you know, make the content that you want to, you know, create if you're not willing to do it. And I thought, you know what, you're right. I'm sitting in a chair thinking about the things that I want to do and have put no effort forward to do those things. And so from that day, I even think it was like December like 6th and 7th, or the 7th and 8th or whatever, whenever the convention went on. And I decided that day was the day that I'm doing it. I'm going forward, and we're making this project happen. And I haven't looked back. And I have and you know, I so it was months and months and months of planning and figuring out, you know, scheduling, when were the perfect days to be able to do these things, when would I be able to fit these things into my schedules and stuff. And obviously the big part was financially and equipment. And so doing so, you know, it takes a lot of planning. And I think, you know, and as someone who now creates content, but as someone who consumed content for years, um, it's not something that we think about. Uh, how much effort goes into a simple, you know, video, a video that could maybe have a, um, or let's go back to Vines. Back when Vine, you know, remember the day when Vines were a thing? Back when Vine was absolutely blowing up. You had 6 seconds to create a memorable clip. And if you think back on the amount of memorable Vines that you can think of, the amount of planning and preparation and scripting just to create 6 seconds, and it was incredible. But we consumed it for 6 seconds, and then we let it go. And some of those clips will forever live in the back of my mind, and they're unbelievable. And I wanted to have that, you know, but to do that, you know, means that there needed to be time and the ability to do so and to push myself to do that. And at the time, I wasn't ready for it. So this past year, I decided this is the year I'm putting myself out there, and I'm doing this. I'm doing this project. And the idea behind this project was to have conversations with my friends, to get to know people, new people, those who maybe aspects of their lives that I didn't know about, even though I've known them for years. And in doing so, I've had the greatest time doing this project ever. Um, but I think with all of this, I want to give everyone who has been on the show their proper, shout out, their proper dues, because these people also have lives. We're all humans. We're all running around. Basically, we run through lives like a chicken with their head cut off. We have, as much as anyone thinks they know what they're doing, we don't know what we're doing. All right, no one does. No one knows what they're doing, and that's kind of the joy and mystery and beauty of life. Um, but yeah, this is gonna, like I said, this is not gonna be our regular episode. It is kind of me ranting to all of you, and kind of giving you the background story. Um, but the main point is my thank yous to all and the goodbye. So let's get into it. Episode 1 was between myself and Noah Chapman, and an absolute uh one of the greatest people I have ever met. And we completely met on accident. Which I feel like is probably where the most meaningful um relationships come from, where I love D&D so much. D&D is Dungeons and Dragons. I love it immensely. And I wanted to find more like-minded individuals to talk D&D with, to do the nerdy stuff, to talk nerdy with. But I didn't know where to start. And I have a very beautiful neurospicy brain. So social cues are not my thing, nor are social events. Which is why I love this project, because I get to hide behind the camera. Woo! But my wife decided to reach out on a Facebook group talking about people who were playing like D&D and stuff, and my wife met a lovely individual named Tracy, who introduced us to now one of my absolute greatest friends ever, Noah. And so that's where this whole friendship spawned. And the funny thing about life is that if it was not for that moment, that message that was just thrown out into the internet for D&D, I don't actually think that this show would be here. I don't think this show would have been created. And if it was, probably wouldn't be like this. I definitely know that the technology would be down. All right, it would be horrible, because Noah is the tech guy of the show, and pretty much taught me how to do all of this. And so I'm super super thankful to Noah and for Tracy, and so all of this comes down to starting the show. And the funny thing was that we actually recorded many test sessions just to kind of mess with the equipment and stuff, but then we decided to record episode 1, and it bombed. Not to an audience, but to us, or mainly me. Noah's super supportive and thought it was great. I hated it. I hated it so much. And so I deleted it completely. And so when we did episode 2, episode 2 also to me just didn't feel right. And so Noah came up with this fantastic idea, where it was like, well, let's start with episode 1 just being what the show is going to be about. Obviously, like, how I didn't think of that, I have no idea. Not a clue. But it was brilliant and it was perfect and it was exactly what the show needed. And so then I had this idea where, well, if we're going to go live with the entire show, let's release multiple episodes on day 1 so that you get an idea of the show and then you get an idea of what the show is going to be, which is now then pushing back the start date of the show week after week after week. And so when I wanted to start the show, and the time that the show actually went live to the public, to all of you, it was like maybe months, which I am not one who enjoys waiting for stuff. So that was rough. That was rough to just really build it up. And I also had to do the one thing that I hate doing, which is reaching out to people, being social. Because I genuinely love just by myself. Like, I'm cool with it, you know? But that's not how life works. It's not how this show works. So I decided from that point that this project is also going to help me kind of broaden my horizons. And this is going to be good exercise for me, which is probably the most selfish part of this entire episode. But with Noah's brilliant idea to start the show, episode 1, with just what the show is going to be about, I was then able to focus on what I wanted the show to be like and not have to worry about that first episode jitter. And so from the first episode, we move into the second episode where we have an amazing guest, Evan. And Evan, solely just another person in my life who is unbelievably supportive, to the point where Evan, without even a convincing, didn't have to explain anything, didn't have to go into extra nonsensical details, just said, absolutely, I'm there for you. Like, let's do it. Let's do a recording. And that was one of my favorite conversations, just to be able to sit down and have this genuine conversation with Evan about, the what he grew up with, and like, the love for the Dark Souls games, and playing Sonic, and the different ways that you could even play Sonic. I didn't even know that there were like there I Sonic gives me such anxiety because of how fast it moves. I'm a very anxiety filled person. All right. So it's not the game for me. But to see that a game that is not super enjoyable for me, but it was a staple in the upbringing of a gamer, or of a nerd, or of somebody who can genuinely appreciate, games for what they are, really brought light to an aspect of the show that I wasn't planning for, but I'm so happy that it happened. So thank you so much, Evan, for doing that. And it was amazing. Episode 2 was incredible. And then we go into episode 3, where I start realizing that, like, I can't just label every episode with just the title of the show, because you never know. You're not going to know what's going on. And so I reached out, and I was like, how do people, like, do the listings of stuff? The amount of reaching out for help for this show was insane. But what was more insane to me was the amount of people who willingly and openly helped me. And for all of those who were on the internet who just kind of blindly, no problem, helped me out, thank you. For those on YouTube who create the content to show people how to do this stuff, you're all amazing. I say it constantly. I'll say it forever. It's not suggested, all right, not to go to college. I'm sure you definitely probably should. I don't know. I didn't go. But you can learn just about anything everything and anything off of YouTube, and it's amazing. So down to YouTube I go, and I start really buckling down to learn everything that I want to do. And so by the time I get to episode 3, we then bring Noah back, and we talk a D&D. And at this point, I've realized that I've now hit 3 major points that I want to hit on the show, which is obviously the who are you, what got you into gaming, and what type of gamer are you now. But more importantly, we have an episode of my D&D and TTRPG interests. We have the video game backgrounds, the face behind the gamer, or the person behind the gamer, and what the show is going to all be about. And at this point, I feel confident. Let's send it. Let's do full send, drop 3 episodes on the first weekend, and then we're going to start hitting social media. And that's when I realized that I don't know shit about social media. I've always been a lurker on everything. So this was an entirely new ground for me. So learning from that point on, and not like, I'm not saying like learning and now I figured it out. Like, no, learning and still very much learning how to self-promote without feeling like all I'm doing is some egotistical rant. So we then go into the second week, and we're not doing terrible, honestly. Views are low, but that's to be expected. No one knows who I am. And I realized that, like, I've always wanted to create the content, and it wasn't until I saw a chart with numbers on it that I realized, oh, I don't actually give a shit about this, about the numbers, not the show. Love the show, care so much about the show. But the numbers, I realized didn't actually have that much of an effect on me as I thought that they might. I was kind of afraid of like seeing the numbers and then being like, I'm shitty, and then not doing it. But I realized that the content was so much more important to me than the numbers, and that made me feel pretty good about what I was about to embark on. And so I felt the confidence, and honestly, the confidence and the ADHD pretty much run all of this. If it wasn't for the small bit of confidence that I've been able to muster up over the 31 years of my life, and the ADHD that has also been there for 31 years of my life, runs and pretty much heads 99% of the projects. And in fact, like it's almost kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time. But as my fellow ADHDers know, it's awesome. But we go into episode 4, and we bring on a brand new guest to the show, Tom, who apparently, well done, Tom. You've become a fan favorite, and you and Noah are neck and neck, and I cannot wait to find a way to exploit both of you. Just kidding. But it becomes this thing where I start realizing that the conversations are always going to vary, and I have to stop preparing so much, because I would come up with an entire list of things that are just insane amounts of topic points. And I started realizing that I'm putting so much time and effort into these topic points that I'm cutting off some of the fantastic conversations because I just want to get through the questions. And that's not what the show was supposed to be about. And so I thought, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start with 3 main topic points, and that is it. Everything else will be 1000% free flowing. And those are the main questions, obviously the entire point of to where the show's name came from. By the way, before episode 4, 1, 2, and 3 episode the show did not have a name. I had no idea what to name it. And I thought I was going through like the gaming podcast or sit down with Josh. Like not great names, right? And then one day I was laying in bed and I was like trying to think of how to narrow all of my questioning down. and I thought of, just the basics. Who are you? What got you into gaming? And where are you at now in gaming? What type of gamer are you now? And I was like, boom, that is where it's at. Who, what, and then now. The who, the what, and the now gaming edition. Or honestly, it could have very well been who, what, now nerds. Who knows? But that's what I ended up going on. It felt nice. It flowed, and bam, off we went. So episode 4, we have this amazing conversation with Tom. We learn that Tom is and his wife are they run the bed and breakfast at the Moonstone Manor, and he loves it. He learns from it every single time, and it is an amazing. It's one of those ones where like it's that genuine conversation with your best pals. And then, months later, you're like, oh, remember that fantastic conversation we had? But like, I don't remember it. Well, now I've recorded it and I have it forever. But it felt like it flowed perfectly. And that episode, we had one topic point and then our 3 main questions. And the flow felt beautiful. It felt right. It felt the way that I wanted the show to feel. So thank you so much, for Tom, for coming out here and doing that show. But then we get into episode 5, where I bring on one of my childhood friends, Lucas Keener, and wow, what an episode! The absolute adore and love and dedication that Lucas has for Pokemon and for the art, Lucas's creations, his pages. It's everything that Lucas does is done with passion and purpose, and it was inspiring, and I loved it so much. And I started to realize that this is the way that I want the show to go. So thank you so much, Lucas, for doing the episode. It was amazing. But then we get into episode 6, and here's where the show kind of really starts to take a change for the better, obviously. But I finally muster up the courage to reach out to someone I don't know. Someone that I have watched their content for a long time, followed on social media. We have a mutual, friendship between, our guest of the show from episode 2 with Evan. And so we bring on Control Alt Quinn. And this episode was one of the most nerve-wracking episodes for me to record, because this was the first person that I was interviewing with. I have no idea, like they have no idea who I am, but I know a lot about them, and so that's a, for starters, that is a weird situation to be in, by the way. I don't know if you've ever had that part, but that is a weird situation to be in. To be like, I know a lot about you and you don't know who I am. And that is immediately what I think about with like celebrities who like do like autograph signings and stuff, where you're like, I know everything about you. And they're like, I didn't know you existed until you got in line. And so it's one of those weird things that just kind of sticks around in the back of my mind. But we bring Quinn on, and Quinn is so insightful and amazing and incredible, and the passion that they have for World of Warcraft and Star Wars and gaming and creating content and knowing and learning, I should say, that they have been chasing this dream forever. So I want to shout out just an absolute massive thank you to Control Alt Quinn. It just unbelievable. You really, and you may never know this, but Quinn really shaped the way that the show was going to continue. And that was a hell of a learning weekend, because we recorded both, we recorded 3 episodes that weekend. One with Quinn, one with Lucas, and then we had our first time appearance with, Tom equals Doom Guy. And so at this point I felt confident. I got myself a couple, backlog episodes. I can really focus on the, other aspects of things. And then life kind of just gets in the way sometimes. Life has a really funny way of just kind of kicking you while you're down, sometimes, and then has an even funnier way of when you feel like you're doing fantastic and you feel like you're up top, and then it pulls the ladder out from you, and you just kind of drop. So, there was things in my life that I just kind of had to deal with for a little bit, and that's fine. That happens to literally everyone, you know. Um, but I had to kind of take a step back, from focusing on the podcast. But I wanted to make sure that I consistently had an episode every single Saturday. Um, and so that's what I did. I continued to post those episodes. But then we got to a point where I was like, I need some episodes, and so I started reaching out again. And of course, we move into episode 7, where I decided, I'm asking Noah, and I'm like, hey, we've had you on the show a couple of times. I want to hear an episode about. Actually, now that it just came back to me, we actually recorded 4 episodes that weekend, because this episode with Noah also happened, where I was like, I want to hear about an episode, or I want to hear a topic that is truly like your favorite game, like the thing that really started everything. What was the passion behind the gamer, and so we did an absolute deep dive on Mass Effect, and I realized how little I remember from that series. There was a lot of looking up. Noah didn't look a damn thing up. I looked up everything, and I had to re-educate myself on everything. And then I ended up going on, the PlayStation, and I bought the master pack of like all the games. I think it's like the legendary pack or something. And I started, my journey back through the game series. And I was wrong on that episode. I was 100% wrong on that episode. Mass Effect 1 is definitely hands down the worst one. It is. I'm skipping it. I'm skipping it because I want to complete the games. I'm moving past it. I don't even know if I'm halfway. I don't even know if I'm a quarter of the way. All I do know is that game is not doing well. I mean, I'm sure it was super, super fun when it first came out. But as I'm playing it, I realized that I watched this game. Had to have been on YouTube, or a friend played or something, because when I thought all of my memories, like I recognized a lot of stuff in the game, and it's cool. But I remember that game going way more smooth. And now that I'm playing it in 2024, it is dog shit. I do not like it. Sorry, Noah. My bad. But it's not great. The story is amazing. I'm genuinely actually loving like the setups and the characters and the conversations and whatever. And it has brought me a lot of super super fun laughs. Where I'm sitting there, I'm having a conversation, and it gives me the options to talk, and it says, "Who are you?" And I go, "That's a fantastic question." And then I click, "Who are you?" And my character says, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, that is not even close to what that prompt said. Like, that's not the question that I just asked. And it's going on a complete derail. And those are some of the funniest moments that I've had playing the first game. But I genuinely just cannot complete the first game. It's not that it's difficult. It's just so slow, and I don't know where I'm going 99% of the time. And I'm not a person who has all of the time in the world to sit down and play a game. I am a Twitch streamer, and I am a father of two. I am a husband. I am also an employee. All right. I am a homeowner. All right. So I have many, 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 many things going on in my life. I don't have time to sit down and play like 10 to 15 hours of gaming a day. I genuinely don't even have time to sit down and play 5 hours of games a day. All right. Most of my gaming comes when I am waiting for like a video like this to upload, or a podcast that you are listening to upload, or to be produced and all that stuff. And so those times while I'm waiting for everything and I'm doing the adjustments, that's when I get to play the games, and that's fine. I still get those pure enjoyments out of it, but the game is just too slow for me to be able to move on. So I'm excited to move on to the second game. I'm going to, do the options that I have done, and then I will probably just watch a video to like catch myself up, and then move into the second one. I hear it's so much better, but I have to apologize, Noah. I couldn't do it. I couldn't finish the first game. Noah's told me to skip it a bunch of times. I couldn't get myself to skip it because I wanted the genuine, review, the genuine feelings. And you know what? Here's my review. It's not for me. It's not a good game for me. It was a great game when I watched it the first time back like 15 plus years ago. And I have very, very good fond memories of playing the second one and the third one. And, I it wasn't great, but I enjoyed Andromeda, but Mass Effect, the original number one, has definitely gone down on my list of games that I enjoy. So that was a super fun episode, and weirdly enough, Noah, well done. There's a lot of Mass Effect fans. It's still, out of now this episode here being number 18, out of all 18 episodes, number 7 is still the most popular. So well done, but going into number 8, we bring Tom back again, and I'm gonna mash 8 and 9. Tom came back. Scheduling with Tom is a difficult thing sometimes. So we have to really, bust out some episodes. And again, things in life happen. So I had to kind of, push 2 episodes together with Tom. And I think it worked out beautifully. I truly, truly, truly enjoy these sporadic ADHD filled conversations with Tom. It's something that is truly enjoyable for me and to record. And I gotta say, honestly, the amount of times that I have been in a room where it is, me, Tom, and Noah having a conversation together, it is easily top 10 conversation like people that I've ever had the chance to have conversations with. So I would even put them in top 5, like top 5 groups of people to have conversations with. Tom and Noah together, up there, So then we go into 10, and we bring on Brian. Brian is he's in the service. He's a Navyman. He's been all over, schedule wise, being able to play games and stuff. But his like love and passion for Call of Duty actually kind of sparked my interest to get back into Call of Duty. And I'll tell you what, now I am super, super excited for Black Ops 6. But I will say it, and I'll say it here, and I'll say it right now. Call of Duty, you've been kind of shit in the bed the last couple of years. All right, I don't know what to say. All right, we talk about it a lot in that episode. You've been shit in the bed these last couple of years. Need you to really get your shit together. And the things that I have seen so far for Black Ops 6, they're looking good. They're looking good. We're bringing back round based, zombies, and prop hunt. I mean, that's just great in itself. All right, but the game looks good. It looks nice. I'm really, really looking forward to it, but I'm saying it right here. When I buy this game, if it turns out to be shit, and you've been feeding me a load of bull for the last couple months here, I'm done with Call of Duty. that is just it. This is the breaking point. If this game is shit, even if this game is just like, I will accept excellence or pretty good, I'll be okay with it. But if it is anything less than pretty good, I'm done. I'm done with Call of Duty. That's it. I'll say it here. Say it loud, say it proud. All right. But that was a fantastic episode. And then we start going into, I start realizing that also Brian is a streamer. Goes by Merciless. And I started realizing, I was like, holy shit, this is where I want to like dive deep into. And I want to get to know the faces, or I want to get to know the people, the person, the human behind the content creator or content creation, whatever. You'll figure it out. But I started realizing that like I really got to dive into Brian as a person, and as a person consuming the content is what I should say. And that's what I was like, this is where it's at, because I'm now having a conversation with not a streamer. I'm having a conversation with a consumer as a consumer. And I loved it. And then I spark into Afrofish, and that was an incredible episode. Where again I got to dive deep behind, the eyes of a streamer, of a content creator, as someone who truly enjoys the games, but enjoys the games for what they are, but has very honest and crucial opinions on these games, and isn't afraid to be honest about those things. And that's what I loved, that there was the honesty behind the gamer that was like, hey, just because I have a platform and just because I stream doesn't mean that I have to love every game. Some games to me are shit, and I respected it. I respected it so much. And I was like, yeah, dude, 100%. I'm there with you. 10,000%. Woo! So then we go back. Episode 12 rolls around, and we bring back Tom again. And I'm like, holy shit, Tom, how do you keep getting into here? At this point, Tom is just, I'm pretty sure at this point, Tom's just going to start like, I'm going to have to make like a guest house or something, because Tom is over here all the time doing these episodes. And you know what, Tom? I love it. I love it, and I can't wait to have another conversation with you once, wedding season starts to kind of bring it down. I haven't actually talked to Tom probably since the last time he was on the show. And I really, but life, I'm busy. And Tom is super duper busy. So, thank you so much to Brian for being on the show. Thank you so much for Afrofish for being willing to be vulnerable enough to put yourself into this platform, and really open up and talk about the loves and interests and stuff, because a lot of these things that we talk about on the show are not things that you would hear during a stream. Even like the just chatting thing, a lot of the times, and I'll throw myself in the category. A lot of times when I do the podcast and we do the the show, and when I stream on Twitch, it's a lot of the times it's just entertainment. I'm very open and honest. I'm a very open book as it is, but a lot of the times I do a lot of stuff for entertainment. This is a weird episode for me because I'm being very transparent, but I'm also not trying to be a goofball. This is like this episode is just me. This is how I am 99% of my day. I have this, or I'm work mode, So then we go and I reach out to Richard Walton, and Richard is not so much a gamer as he is a TTRPG lover, or more specifically, a Dungeons and Dragons enthusiast. Oh boy, whew, mouthful. But man, it Richard is the one that oddly enough helped my issues when it came to being able to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, because Dungeons and Dragons is, I feel like, a conversation that you have with someone who knows Dungeons and Dragons. So they know the lingo, they know what you're talking about. You can just say, like, I can just say, oh man, my party, level 10 are blasting through Batal, and they're only getting through Avernus right now. But I'm thinking about making this, Tarrasque to show up, and I think it'd be really kind of nuts if the Tarrasque got destroyed by Vecna, or was pulled through the hells through by a lich. It's like, those who know D&D and know fantasy and stuff, you're 100% know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Those who don't know, I just spit out a bunch of gibberish, and you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. But the way that Richard was able to communicate about the love for D&D, I felt like hit those who may be interested in D&D, or looking to get into D&D in a way that I didn't think of. And I'm super, super appreciative of that. So thank you so much, Richard, for jumping in on the show. And then we get 14 and 15. We bring Noah back. Noah is dude, why not? Noah's a fantastic person. I love Noah. And having these conversations with Noah was amazing. But then I slapped the roles reverse, because I did not, as I've gone back and listened to it, I did not know as much as I thought I did about Mass Effect. And then we swapped roles, because Baldur's Gate 3 is my top favorite game. I have favorite games of all time, okay, but this past year, Baldur's Gate 3 is basically all I can ever think about. And I've never hyperfixated on a game so long in my entire life. Like, I still am. I'm currently playing Baldur's Gate 3 just on my own and on stream. We're approaching 600 hours into Baldur's Gate 3. I love this game with so much of my being that we made a part 1 and a part 2. Part 1 being all of Act 1, and part 2 being basically all spoilers. So I won't go too deep into that one. If you love Baldur's Gate 3, definitely check out the first episode. If you have beaten Baldur's Gate 3 and you want to just hear about other methods and other experiences in the game, check out the part 2 episode. It was incredible, and I loved every last bit of it. All right. Now here's where we get into the nitty-gritty of this episode, of why I wanted to make this episode. I got the absolute pleasure and opportunity to have one of the coolest guests and that I have had on this show. And I don't mean that in like that some guests are better than the others, because they're not. I mean, this was super cool because this was like I was punching way wait, is it punching above the belt or below the belt? I don't actually know, but this was way out of my range. This is somebody who is like creating like content that the world consistently consumes. And then there's me. um and the funny thing is, I didn't know about a lot of this until the episode that we recorded. Um so I got to have Jason Conforto on here, who is the co-host to Adventure AI and Mulling It Over. Those are two podcasts. Definitely should check those out. But Jason brought perspectives into the world of Dungeons and Dragons to me that I have not thought about before. And I would highly suggest, checking out that episode because Jason Conforto talks so highly of bringing AI into Dungeons and Dragons, and we're in a world where like AI is, it's kind of torn the world in half, where there's people who are like, oh, I'm not going to let AI take over the planet. And then there's like the few of us who were like, AI, bring it on, you know? So I got to learn so much about, using AI in Dungeons and Dragons, but I also got to learn so much more about, um, the person behind the content, and to learn about Jason Conforto and who he is and what he stands for, and even out of the episode, just conversations that he and I had personally, learning about his life and his family and stuff and experiences, truly was a very memorable moment and an absolute treat to myself. So thank you immensely, Jason Conforto, for doing that episode with me. And I truly, I value the conversations we had, and I can't wait to continue this newfound friendship that was created. So thank you so much. Um, and then our last episode from the previous week, that is now out, um, was Jukin's Lags. And dude, what an incredible guest and an incredible conversationalist. To watch somebody so unbelievably motivated to create and drive themselves and to be better every single day, to wake up and be better than the day before. And honestly, the dude can make me laugh. That was nuts. I laughed a lot in that episode, and I loved it. I loved every moment of it. And it was incredible. Sorry, I just got a phone call. My bad. And it was absolutely unbelievable, and I loved all of it. And it was so informative and inspirational and motivational, and it was everything that I wanted, the show to be about. Um, and then life kind of hits, and I have the 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 realization that things with the podcast and with my streaming life, uh, you know, um, have to change. And so I thought, you know what? I've always wanted to do the about me section of the podcast. But I wanted to do it much, much later. But, things kind of happen. So I wanted to now get into the second portion of the title, which is the goodbye. Um, and if anybody skipped to this point, please know that every one of those episodes was everything to me, and that everything moving forward in my life, it holds just as much value. But now I'm pulling in for the somberest moment. Brought the mood down all the way to the bottom since the beginning of the episode, and I 1000% did this for a clickbaitable moment. But the goodbye is still true. But it's not in the way that I wanted everyone to think it was. The goodbye is that we're saying goodbye to everything old, everything that we have done so far in the show, the project aspect of the show, the question of what kind of content I want to create, the methods in which I did everything before, and the way that the show was. Well, we're saying goodbye to. It's gone. It's done. And from here on out, I have a new light, a new shed of hope in the distance as we stare upon the star of the future. and yada, 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 another nonsensical shit. We are moving forward, going stronger than ever. We are more driven than we have ever been before. I say we because you never know. We may get a co-host. We may not. We may continue to do the things that we are doing now, but it's going to be better. And they're going to be bigger, better, and more awesome. At least I think so. We have started this project talking to those who I know and I have talked to for years. But we have grown as a show enough where we are getting noticed. And this has opened up a door for some incredible, guests to be able to be on the show. And so from here on out, we are expecting to see way more, faces behind the content creations or creators, and or I guess also and creations. We are moving up to new heights. We are pushing harder and stronger boundaries, and I'm pushing myself harder and stronger than I have before. And we are dedicated more than we have ever been to, making sure these things happen. And you know what? We haven't missed a Saturday episode drop yet, and I do not plan to miss a Saturday from here until the day that this show eventually dies. So that being said, we are super, super proud and excited to have future episodes discussing. We are going to have Brian back probably a month or so after Black Ops 6 comes out to do a deep dive as to our final decisions on whether or not Call of Duty is going to remain in our arsenal of games. We're going to discuss the fun things and the fundamentals that that these new games have brought to us. We have 2020 sucked. We all can agree with that. All right. But it also opened up the door for a lot of content creators to really sit down and have the time to focus on what they were doing. And a lot of these content creators have really taken off. And our plan is to have these conversations to get to know the face behind the content creator. And I am so unbelievably excited for these episodes. So, with that being said, the big, huge, absolute, massive thank yous to everyone who have been on the show, who have been supportive, to those who show up in the chats, to those who send their thoughts and feelings, those who reach out and send messages, those who get in the Discord and really open up the conversations, and those who are especially in the community who are so open, warm, and welcoming to the newcomers to the community, and the introducing themselves and getting helping everyone kind of settle in. One of my main things is to make sure that everyone has a safe space to properly be able to express themselves, in the Discord or in our streams. And I plan to 1000% stick by that till forever, because it's super important to me. There will be times where we're going to be taking breaks, because mental health is also extremely important to me. But that being said, we have Call of Duty coming out. We also have the new Assassin's Creed coming out. We have a Dragon Age game coming out that we haven't seen since Inquisition, which has been I don't know, feels like 10 years. I'm probably wrong, but it feels like 10 years. So we're super, super excited for these. We have an amazing end of the year game collection to absolutely blast through. We have some incredible streamers that we're working on getting, setting up dates and times to do recordings and episodes. We have other content creators, whether it be podcasts, YouTubes, everything. So I'm super, super excited. I'm so sorry for the baiting you into thinking that I was saying goodbye to the show. We are not. We're saying goodbye to the past, and we are looking forward as we open the door to bigger and better heights, and really, really pushing ourselves to do even better stuff from here on out. Um, Sorry, this was a weird episode. Probably not super funny at all, actually, and not as our normal content. But I truly did feel like this was super important, and that it needed to happen. Also, I needed an episode. So I'm super super excited for where we're going from here on out. So as always, thank you unbelievably to everyone who has lent support to the show, to the stream, to me. Thank you, Noah, so much for your support and for helping me with every technical difficulty that I've had from the start until forever. Thank you to all of the guests that we have had on the show. You're all incredible, and I appreciate all of you immensely. Thank you to everyone who pops up in the streams. We are very very close to getting to affiliate, and then our next goal from that will be partner. We are looking to build communities. As always, I say it always on every time we talk about this, every episode or whatever. We do not do we 99% of the time we don't do the follow for follow unless like I know you or we're doing some kind of like content collaboration kind of thing. We want the general community. We want people to actually be in the community who want to be in the community and talk to a bunch of like-minded people, and that is our goal. We are a genuine show with genuine opinions, and I always want to be genuine and transparent. So thank you to everyone for everything that everyone has done. Big thank you to my wife, especially, for kind of helping make allow making it so that situations allow for the time to be able to do this. My wife is incredibly supportive. I'm so unbelievably appreciative of her. So as always, thank you, everyone. I'm going to throw a couple links in the description below, but this one is more just a, how the show is, how the show was, and how the show is now going to be. Also, if you jump in the Discord, if you ever have any questions for me, you want to hear certain things on the show, if there is somebody who you think has some crazy fun stories to tell, some funny stuff, or an unbelievably interesting tales of adventure, send them my way. I would truly love to have these conversations and to learn about new things and to learn the of interests of people. I love this stuff. This is my passion. This is what I love to do, and I love the interview aspect of all of this. So let's get some new things going. We're saying goodbye to the old, and we're saying hello to the new. Um, and yeah, as always, don't forget to walk outside, look up at the sky, feel the sun on your face, hug a tree, and high five a squirrel. And we will see you on the next one.